Good morning. This is a second grade lesson, and it's the second lesson in the fifth module. And in this lesson we're going to be working more with large numbers up to 1,000. And as you can see from this example, we're going to be working with hundreds and tens and thinking about how we can add them and how we can subtract them. And realizing that there's always more than one way, right? And the first way that many of us will try is just simply something we call mental math, some kind of mental strategy, right? And this just means using your mind without a drawing, right? Without any kind of written strategy. It's just doing it in your head. And this is quite possible. When you look at this problem here, for example, you're seeing 350, and you know you're adding 400. If you can see that this 400 is going to be joined up with this 300, and if you know 3 plus 4 is 7, you can just say, hey, this is going to be 700, and the 50 is going to be left unchanged, because look in the tens place and in the ones place, there's nothing there. 700s, 50, right? 750, right? And that's what we call mental math. That's doing it in your head. But there are other ways, right? And part of this exercise, is being aware of the other ways. You have become familiar with the arrow method. Sometimes we call it the arrow way, right? And in the arrow way, you can start with either number. Let's start with 400. And we're going to add 350. Now you can do this in two parts. We can take the 300 first and then the 50. So let's do it that way. Plus 300, right? 300 more than 400, 700. And let's go get the other part. Let's go get the 50. Put a plus 50 over the arrow. 700 plus 50 is 750. So the arrow way is another strategy, right, that we could use for this type of problem. And yet, there's another that you and I are familiar with that we call the number bond strategy. And the number bond strategy is just another way to break apart a number. And in this case, we might want to break apart the 350 into the 300s and the 50, right? And then just think, well, let's put these together first, because they're both hundreds, right? 400 plus 300 is 700, and then let's go grab the rest of it in another sentence. 700 plus 50. 750. So we might call this strategy the number bond strategy because we're breaking apart this 350 with a number bond. Okay? So 3 strategies, 3 different ways that you might tackle all of these addition problems. And I'm pointing this out for you. Yes, all addition, right? And then all subtraction. So let's see if, by example, we could solve some subtraction problems by different strategies also. Let's take 731 minus 200. Our first strategy was mental. Can you look at this and make sense of it mentally without writing a thing down? Well, what are we taking away from 731? Well, looks like 200s, and that's it. So, can we mentally take 2 from 7? If you can, then you might be able to solve this mentally. That's 500, and the 31 remains the same, right? So we'll call that the mental math one because we're using just our mind, but not anything written. If we use the arrow way, right, with the same problem, 731 minus 200, we might split the 200 up into 2 easier parts, 100 and 100, right, and just say minus 100, and that would be 631. And then another arrow, minus 100 again, and that would be 531. Now you might look at that and say, hey, that's unnecessary. I don't really need to do that. And for this problem, well, that may be true. In math, we're not looking to create extra work for ourselves. In math, we're looking to solve problems in a way that makes sense. And at some point, we think about what we call efficiency. And that is making the most of our time, right? Let's get the answer and move on, right? And in a lot of life, that's what we like to do. So finally, let's see if we can do this in the number bond way, right? Same problem. How could we possibly do 731 minus 200 in the number bond way? Well, we could break this 731 up into the 700 and then the rest, 31. And then we can take the 700 and the 200 and make a simpler subtraction problem. 700 minus 200. That's 500. Are we done? No. We gotta go back and grab that, right? Then join it with this 500. So the 500 plus that 31 that we separated out gives us 531. So, of course, it should not be surprising that all of our answers agree. We're solving the same problem, but just using different strategies. As you tackle these problems today, found on page 205, feel comfortable to try any of those strategies, right? They're all tools to help you be successful in solving problems using math. Have a nice day. Best wishes. See ya.